Okay, we are good to go.
All right. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today to kind of review what the Utility Recovery Grant for small businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19. As before, similar to the Fulton Area Development Small Business Recovery Grant, this is brought to you by the Fulton Area Development Foundation. The Callaway County Commissioners have earmarked $300,000 to go towards utility grants for small businesses that actually have a brick and mortar. And so I just want to go over a couple of things today with this application so that everybody can kind of better understand how to complete this application. It's important that you follow all of the procedures. There's a little more detail than the last grant that is required for you to provide. So first of all, what is the purpose of this grant? The purpose of this grant is for small businesses to get some utility assistance from the time that the state was shut down during the April and May timeframe. To qualify for this grant, a business must have been closed some portion of April or May during the statewide mandatory shutdown, or been adversely impacted due to COVID-19. So if your business was shut down or you were adversely impacted by COVID-19, you can actually apply for this grant. You must have a brick and mortar establishment within Callaway County. It must be in Callaway County. It cannot be anywhere else out in another county. Your brick and mortar must be in Callaway County. Even if you're doing business in Callaway County, your brick and mortar must be in Callaway County. You must submit utility bills that help you qualify for this reimbursement. The utility bills must be in the business name. And if they are not in the business name and they're directly connected to you, you need to provide us some sort of proof that you actually are paying those bills from the business account. These cannot be your personal utilities from your home. If you have a home-based business, this is for business expenses only. One of the key things for this utility grant, though, is a business could not have applied for the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, or the FADF COVID-19 Small Business Recovery Grant funds to cover your utility costs. So with the PPP funds, the federal government actually was allowing businesses to use 60% of it towards payroll and the other 40% towards utilities. If you used any of that money towards utilities, we are encouraging you not to apply because it could adversely affect your loan forgiveness for the payroll protection program. So keep that in mind when you're completing this application. Ask yourself, did I use the funds from the FADF to pay my utilities, or did I use any of my payroll protection program funds to pay my utilities? This is federal funds. You can't double dip. This information, so when we compile this information, it's turned over to the county puts it into a database. So we need to be extremely careful, and the businesses need to be extremely careful, because we do not want anybody coming back and saying, I applied for the PPP, I used it for utilities, I applied for this utility grant, and I used that for utilities, and now I can't get my loan forgiven. So make sure that you are consulting your financial institution or your accountant if you have any questions about that, on what you use those funds for. If you can honestly say, I did not apply for PPP and I did not use any of the FADF Small Business Recovery Grant funds for my utilities, I used those for other operational expenses, then please apply for this utility grant. We know there's a lot of businesses in Callaway County that did not even apply for PPP. And we know a lot of businesses that applied for the FADF Small Business Recovery Grant, and that was just an additional way for them to have some cash flow, to pay some other operating expenses. Maybe they had to take out a personal loan, and that was to pay for that. So just make sure when you're applying for this that you have not utilized any other funding to cover for April and May 2020 utility expenses. So what is utilities? What are we talking about here? We're talking about your electric, your water, and the gas for the building. Also, we're talking about your internet service. So we're not talking about gas for your car. We're talking about gas for the building. What do we need you to do? We need you to provide those invoices or those paid receipts. It can just be a copy of that. And the time frames really need to be very specific on your utility bills that you are submitting. So if you have a separate electric, separate water, separate gas, and separate internet, that's going to be 4 types of bills that you're going to submit, and there's going to be 8 pages in total for that. The dates, they must be in the April and May time frame. So let me give you an example. We've already had this kind of come up a little bit. So say, for example, you're with the city of Fulton and your April bill is from April 8th to May 8th. And then your May bill is from May 9th to June 9th. That would be your April and your May bills that you need to submit. You cannot submit anything that was from in February because that is a time frame prior to COVID-19. If it is from like March 23rd through April 26th, and then from April 27th to May 25th, that's fine. So it's a little bit tricky. It's only 2 months, but it needs to be April and May time frame. The majority in the April and May time frame. So what do you need to do to apply? So of course there's an application, and we tried to keep this one very, very simple like we did the last one because we don't want people to get weighed down with a lot of paperwork, but we have to at least meet the minimum requirements for the county and for their audit in 2021. So you need to complete this 1-page application. You need to include utility bills for April and May of 2020, and you need to submit a copy of those utility bills, and they must be in the business name to qualify for reimbursement, or you need to provide us something that says, look, this is a brick and mortar, and it's in care of this individual, but it's being paid from this individual's account in behalf of this business or doing business as. So we need some sort of proof to go along with that. Also, you need to provide a current 2020 business license. If you do not have a current 2020 business license, say that you're not required to have a business license in the city of Fulton or Holt Summit or New Bloomfield. Are you required to have a county license? If you're required to have a county license, give us that. If you're not required to have a license at all, then you can submit a certificate of good standing from the state of Missouri. And all you need to do that is to Google certificate of good standing, state of Missouri, and it's going to take you to the Secretary of State's website. And on there, you're going to do a business search, and that is the business. You're searching the name, the name that you have given the state. And if it's an apostrophe S, make sure you include that. And then on this little second part, it's going to be different types of certifications, and then it's going to say certificates. And so you're going to click on certificates. There should be a certificate of good standing. It does cost about $10 to get a certificate of good standing, but you can print that off and include that with your application. And it's $10. And if you're going to get reimbursed for your utilities for April and May, I think it outweighs that $10 cost. So on the certificate of good standings and the business license, those must be current. So on a business license, for example, the city of Fulton, it should say that it expires sometime in 2021 now, because they've just kind of went through that process of people getting new business license. But make sure it's not an expired business license. The certificate of good standing should say September of 2020. It can't be the certificate of good standing that you got when you opened up your business. It needs to be a current certificate of good standing. That says that you owe no money to the state of Missouri and that you're in very good standing with them. And then you need to have it notarized. One thing you need to think about if you haven't had things notarized in the past is don't sign it until you get in front of the notary. Make sure that they witness that you are signing that document. We've had a couple of people that said, well, they wouldn't notarize it because I had already signed it. Make sure that you sign it in front of the notary. That's why the notary is there, is to swear that you're the one that actually signed that document. And then applications can be mailed or dropped off to the Chamber of Commerce. We're not accepting electric submissions. They cannot be emailed. At the end of the day, you know, that's a cost to us to have to print those off. And we got over 230 applications for the Small Business Recovery Grant. So imagine printing all of those off. So we're not printing any of those off. Please print those off and mail them back to the Chamber of Commerce, or you can drop them off in the black box out front. Shane and Justice are checking that several times a day to make sure that they have them, and they're already kind of looking through and processing them. You know, one thing that will be very helpful for us is if you, down at the bottom of the application, it says, please make sure that the application information is provided prior to submitting. If your application is incomplete, it will not be processed. Initial next to each requirement below prior to submitting. Application complete. Initial it so that you're checking that box that you completed that application. Business license or certificate of good standing, just put a little initial. That's a reminder to you that you checked that box. Utility bills are attached for requested months. Do that, put a little initial there, and then application notarized. And the reason we did this on this application is we're just trying to help make sure that people are providing us all of the information so that we don't have to call them and remind them and hunt that information down, because all that does is prolong your application from being processed. Also on the application, it says utility assistance request, electric, water, gas, and broadband, and the total amount requested. Please put that total amount requested on there so that we know, even if you want to highlight on your bills that, you know, this is the specific amount, that will help us process these applications quicker. Applications will begin being processed on September 30th. Once those applications are processed, they go to the county, and the county submits the check. So usually after they receive it, it's anywhere between 7 and 14 days that you will actually receive a check if you were approved. So if you want to check in and see if your application was approved, wait until after probably October 5th or 6th before you do that. That will give us a few days to actually get those applications processed and turn them over to the county. So I will entertain any questions that you may have at this time. Is there any questions?
We did get one that just came in. It says that we have 2 large propane tanks that we use. They are filled as needed. How would you handle submitting bills for this?
Were they filled during April and May? That's the question. Were they filled during April and May? If they were not filled during April and May, then you cannot qualify for them.
Yes, they were.
Okay, then you need to submit the bill from where they were filled. There should be a specific date on there that says that they were filled up, and you can submit that underneath gas, because propane and gas is very similar, and then also who the services were provided by.
They said thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? You know, our goal here is to assist our small businesses in Callaway County. We want the small businesses in our community to be set up for success. And we know that this has been an extremely hard year for the businesses. We're doing our best to make sure that the CARES Act funding, that there's money earmarked for the small businesses. We want to see you successful, and we want to see you stay open. If there's anything that we can do as the Chamber of Commerce to assist our members, please let us know. If you need some marketing ideas, call Justice. If you need to talk about your business and you're having problems and issues with that, call Shane. He can assist you, or call me. We have connections and partnerships with people throughout the state that we can put you in contact with. If we don't know the answer, we're not going to make something up. We're going to put you in contact with the professionals. So we are here to help you. Anything that we can do, we're here to support you. We want to see you successful. We're moving into the latter part of the year. We're hopeful that things are going to turn around. I think that some business are excelling and some are just barely hanging on, but hang in there and just tell us what you need and the problems and issues that you're having, because if we don't know, we can't help you, and we can't find people to help you. So if there's no other questions, Justice.
We have one more.
Okay.
Phone and internet bill are combined. Do we separate?
Yes. Yes. It's just for the internet. So that's where I was talking about highlighting. Maybe you just highlight your internet services on there, and then make sure that you have the total amount requested on your application.
And that was the last one.
Okay, well, we appreciate you joining us today. If you have any further questions, I will be out for a week. And so Justice and Shane will be available to assist you and answer any questions that you may have. If it's an emergency, they know how to get a hold of me. So thank you. Have a great day and happy Friday. Bye-bye.